The fight was scheduled for 20 3-minute rounds. As Johnson waited to be introduced, some in the crowd jeered and cursed at him. He showed no sign that he heard them, bowing grandly in all directions, even blowing kisses to the crowd. The referee was Huge Deal McIntosh himself. The opening bell rang at 11:07 in the morning. "Here I am, Tommy," Johnson said as he came forward. "Who told you I was yellow?" Within a few seconds, Burns was on the floor. Burns got up and was knocked down again. Burns called Johnson a cur, a big dog. "Come on and fight, nigger," he said. "Fight like a white man."
Burns started it by calling me a yellow cur and used other language which it would be impossible for me to report. I only kidded him in a nice way, but he used the other sort of language. If I had killed Burns for the language he used to me, I would have been fully justified.
Burns and his cornermen kept up a torrent of racial abuse. Johnson just smiled back and gave as good as he got. Finally, in the 14th round, as Johnson moved in for the kill, the police stopped the fight to save Burns further humiliation and ordered the movie cameras to stop grinding.
When finally Burns is about to be knocked out, the world is spared the spectacle of a black man knocking out a white man, and the world is denied access to this historical moment because the white supremacy of the universe in 1908 is so demented and extreme. The knockout is stopped and the film is stopped.
Badly hurt before that happened. That's one of the reasons why he looked up at the clock. But I mean, this is one of, I love Forrest Griffin, but this is one of the most embarrassing knockouts I think we've ever seen.
Well, I think you bring up a great point, though, Joe. He was hurt not once, not twice, and that was basically the third strike.
Yeah, he was already out of it, Mike. No question about it. I mean, that was ridiculous.
Well, this is what everybody wanted, was to see Anderson Silva.
Vitor's corner. It was really amazing how many people booed Anderson at the weigh-ins and cheered Vitor. Even though you had the knockout victory over Chuck in the past, how good does this victory feel?
Hey, it feels good for all you fans that boo me. Add another boo to that, and that's what your breath smell like. Boo, boo. I got my fans, all my...
Of course, you always got to be concerned whenever it goes to a decision. I fight for you guys. I fight for all the MMA, UFC fans. I try and finish fights. I come here and I bring it for you guys. Joe, did you like it?
It was a great fight. It was a great fight. It was a great fight. It was a...
What's going on? Dante562. Today I want to talk a little bit about the UFC situation that's going on with Jon Jones and how it obviously relates to Anderson Silva, Quentin Rampage, Rashad Evans, and now Ben Henderson. You know, I'm going to talk about all of this. I'm going to link all of this to day one. Before I go any further with this video, I want to make it very clear. If you are not a racist, if you don't share the same thoughts that some of the people that I am going to depict and break down, then you have no reason to be offended at all when it comes to this video. Okay? Now in this video, I am going to talk about the racism that seems to be coming vastly from the white UFC fans. Okay? Now, don't get me wrong. There is a lot of white fans who love these black fighters that I'm going to mention. But unfortunately, they are drowned out by the vast majority of fans that hate these fighters. Okay? Now, to really understand how we got to this point, we have to go to the root of the problem, which means we have to go all the way back into time, right? It's just like when somebody's house is on fire, right? Well, when the fire department shows up and they don't just put the fire out and leave. No, they do investigation. They go to the root of the problem. They want to know what started this fire. You know? They want to know, was this an accident or was this arson? You feel me? Was it coincidental or was it an arsonist? Right? This is exactly what we're going to figure out right now when it comes to this UFC situation. Is this all coincidental or is it racism? You be the judge. Now, before I get into the many coincidental situations, let's go ahead and start with Jon Jones, since that's the latest news of this situation. Now, if you guys have been following the news, you already know Jon Jones, he had been training to fight Dan Henderson for, I guess, about 2 months, like he always does. All of a sudden, Dan Henderson has to pull out. Dana White, he asked Jon Jones to fight Chael Sonnen on an 8-day notice, right? Now, first of all, there's a few things you need to know about Jon Jones. He's not like any other ordinary fighter. If you listen to Rashad Evans and what he said about Jon Jones and their build up to their fight, he basically said that Jon Jones, he has a notebook that he carries everywhere he goes. He actually has notes on every single opponent that he faces. Okay? This means that Jon Jones, he really studies the guy that he's going to fight, right? He studies their weaknesses, their strengths, all the way throughout the training camp. He practices his moves that he's going to use over and over for weeks and weeks leading up to the fight, right? So is it that surprising that Jon Jones will say, no, I need more time to prepare for a different opponent. 8 days is not enough to prepare for a different opponent, right? Does that really surprise you guys? Not to mention the fact that Chael Sonnen has been busted on numerous occasions, not just once. He's been busted on numerous occasions for taking PEDs, performance enhancement drugs, steroids, right? It was reported, actually, he was forced to confess when the Nevada Athletic Commission interviewed him. He admitted of shooting up, I think only like within a day before he fought Anderson Silva the first time, right? So this is someone who needs to be monitored carefully, number one. You can't just throw somebody in who has a track record like this, just throw him in out of nowhere. How do we know what he's been doing since he's got his ass whooped by Silva, right? Not only that, but let's just say that Jon Jones should have fought Chael Sonnen, right? Let's say he should have fought him. I have no problem with people saying that Jones should have fought him. This is where I have a problem. Where I have a problem is now people are trying, a lot of white fans, because this is who they mainly are. A lot of the white fans all of a sudden are trying to make it seem like now they hate him because he didn't take this fight. Now he's selfish. Now they hate him. All of this. But what's so funny is now I'm going to get into all of the coincidental situations. Do you guys realize that even though they're trying to make it seem as if they hate Jon Jones because of what he just did, you guys do understand that Jon Jones has been getting booed ever since he fought for the title, right? Let's look at all of these strange ass coincidences. You take Rampage, Anderson Silva, Rashad Evans, Jon Jones, and now even Ben Henderson. So like I said before, to really understand this situation, we have to go back to the very early stages of boxing. Because the sport of boxing, the similarities between UFC and boxing are virtually identical. When you go back at least about maybe 10 years ago, when the UFC was predominantly white. It was a predominantly white sport. Same thing with boxing, right? Now let's talk about boxing real quick. Let's start with 1908. Okay? Now in 1908, virtually everyone in the sport of boxing was white. You know, from the boxers to the fans to the judges to the referees, everybody was white. So it would be fair and only, natural for you to say, this is a white sport. This is dominated by white people, right? And if you're a white person, you're automatically gonna, assume there's nobody that can beat us in this sport. So that makes you feel good. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Until, unfortunately, some black guy comes along named Jack Johnson, and he ends up dominating, beating the white champion, who at the time, you have to understand, the racism was so extreme at this point that white people would flat out say, look, we're not going to fight. We're the best in this whole sport, and we're not even going to give a black person a chance to fight for the title, because this belt should never trade hands from a white fighter to a black fighter. That's basically what they said. But unfortunately, because Jack Johnson was so dominant and he kept following the champion around no matter where he went, forcing him to fight, eventually, the public demanded it. And like I said, Jack Johnson, he beat the champion very easy. To no surprise, as soon as he beat the champion, he was extremely, extremely hated, right? Because obviously, white people sitting here saying, wait a minute, this is our sport. How does a black guy come over here and beat us? Okay, so naturally, at the beginning stages of Jack Johnson's championship reign, you have a lot of the racist white fans that are basically saying this must be a fluke. They're trying to convince themselves there's no way this guy can be better than us, right? So they assume, okay, let's see if he can do this against the number one contender, the number 2, 3, 4, right? Jack Johnson knocks all of these guys out, right? Now the fact that they can't find anyone to beat Jack Johnson, that envy, that jealousy, that hatred, it goes into an extreme category 5 rage. If those of you who know about hurricanes, they start at a category 1, and the highest point is a category 5, right? So they've reached the category 5 with this black guy, right? I mean, throwing out racial slurs, they just hate the fact that he's the champion, right? So, this is basically, doesn't that sound pretty similar to what's going on in the UFC right now? Like I said, I've named all the fighters that white UFC fans have a problem with, right? See, the only difference between 1908 and 2012 is the fact that in 08, it was acceptable to be a racist, right? I mean, you could be as racist as you want to be back then at this time, right? You could go right out and you could say something racial about, a black person, Mexican, Jew, anybody, right? You could be as racist as you wanted to. The sports writers could be racist. The politicians could be racist. Matter of fact, one of the governors back in like the late 60s, I believe his name was George Wallace. He was actually known for making the phrase very popular, segregation now, segregation forever. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, you could be as racist as you wanted to. You could say racial slurs and all that kind of stuff. See, the difference from 40 years ago till today is now it is not popular to be a racist. Now it's actually quite the contrary. It's taboo to be a racist now. I mean, you could be a racist when you sitting, in the bedroom with your wife and you talking about how I can't stand black people, I can't stand Mexicans, I can't stand this, I can't stand that. You can do that when you hitting in your room. You could do that on the internet, hiding to where nobody can come and beat your ass or anything like that. But out in the public, it ruins careers. It makes you look like the bad guy. It makes you look like the idiot if you're a racist. So racist people obviously still exist, because you can look at the comments on YouTube. You can look at, celebrities getting busted every 6 months on TV. From Mel Gibson, the Dog the Bounty Hunter, Michael Richardson from Seinfeld. The list keeps going on and on. Somebody always getting busted. So we know racism still exists. So how does racist people get their message out or get their point across without being exposed as a racist? They have to speak in codes, right? I mean, damn, yelling out racial slurs in America, it's almost like standing up yelling out that you're gay. You're going to make yourself look bad. So, like I said, they speak in codes. Since they can't use, racial slurs and stuff like that, they have to say stuff like, use codes like, oh, you're arrogant, you're selfish, you're a fucking pussy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? They say these words because they cannot say what they really want to say. I mean, it's the same thing with the president, with Obama. You look at a lot of these racist Republicans, right? They want to call Obama a nigga so bad, but they can't do it because it would end their career, right? And they know this. So instead of calling him a nigga, they have to substitute shit like, fuck it then. Let's just call him a Muslim, a socialist, a Marxist. You know what I'm saying? What's so funny with Obama is he went from being a so-called racist Christian because he was associated with Reverend Wright, and then all of a sudden they went from that didn't work. Then he went all the way from that to being a Muslim. You know what I'm saying? Code words, guys. They have to use code words. Let's take our country back. Take our country back from who? You feel me? It's all code words. This is what they're doing in the UFC, guys. Now listen to me real quick. I'm not trying to say that every single UFC white fan who yells out, oh, I don't like Jon Jones because he's arrogant, he's a pussy, he's a faggot, I hate him, and all of this shit like that. Look, I'm not trying to say that some of these people don't really believe that he's arrogant. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them do. But the problem is the people who do believe he's arrogant, they are too blinded. They've convinced themselves so much that they actually believe that this has nothing to do with race. I mean, come on, guys. Let's be honest. You look at all the comments, Jon Jones, Anderson Silva, all of the comments are the same for the vast majority of these fighters. They're either trying to argue that one of them are boring, or they're trying to say that they're arrogant. You ask somebody on YouTube, how come you don't like Anderson Silva? Oh, because 5 fights ago, when he fought against Damian Maia, it was a boring fight. Oh, really? So you just disregarded the last 5, 6 fights, and you're stuck on the fight 6 fights ago? Does that make any sense to you guys? Come on, man. We know it's bullshit, and we know what time it is. We know what time it is. This is real fucking talk on this video, okay, guys? This is real fucking talk. Like I said before at the beginning, if you're not ignorant, if this is not the way you think, this is not the way you act, you should not be offended. This is only directed towards ignorant ass white racist UFC fans. Okay? So, one more time. You guys say, one guy actually sent me a message on my I did a UFC video a while ago, and it was titled, why do white UFC fans boo Anderson Silva, right? One guy sent me a message recently, actually, and he said to me that, come on, man, you know that white people don't like arrogance. And I say, oh, really? White people don't like arrogance. Wow. Well, you know what? Go ahead and check this clip out, and then you tell me if you still believe that after I show you these clips.
He surprised you at all in this fight. Joe Rogan, tonight is not for questions from me. This is your night, brother. I want to know how you feel being only inches away from greatness. I want you to tell everybody how it feels Are you not mesmerized? Do you not have chills going up your spine for the first time on Fox for you to be here in Chael's Octagon on Chael's channel, holding Chael's microphone, interviewing Chael?
I'm pretty excited.
While you're thinking about that, remember this. When you're the greatest fighter in the world today, they got a name for you. They don't call you a great fighter. They call you Chael's son, and beat me if you can.
There it is.
Right there.
Tito Ortiz
Doesn't matter.
has defeated Guy Mezger, and he's firing the young guns again. But not respectfully. Very upset with the disrespect shown towards the Lions Den corner, and John McCarthy, the smartest man inside the octagon.
So you still believe that white people don't like arrogance? Come on, man. Let me tell you guys something. America was raised on arrogance, cockiness. You feel me? You don't believe me? I mean, look at the WWE. You guys see the WWE? The WWE is based on personality. You know what I'm saying? It's based on personality. Who could be the most cockiest, arrogant wrestler, but with in a creative way? You know what I'm saying? You got to be cocky, you got to be arrogant, but you got to do it in your own way to where it hasn't been done before. You know what I'm saying? With names like Mr. Perfect, you know what I'm saying, and shit like that. You telling me that that's not arrogance? Walking in the ring, you know, with that bounce and shit, looking at everybody with your nose up. You know what I'm saying? You know why they do that? Because America loves that shit. Hell, I used to like that shit. You know, before with the WWE, you used to, you know, back in the day, you always had the bad guy versus the good guy. You know, you had all the villains that would come in fighting the good guys. Well, you know, it's been a transition because so many people, so many wrestling fans, they end up liking the bad guy. And I think even Triple H or one of them said this in an interview a while ago. He said, I was supposed to be the bad guy, and I had so many people cheering for me that I ended up becoming a good guy because they like that arrogance. They like the cockiness. You know what I'm saying? Let's look at the Ultimate Fighter. Does anybody watch the Ultimate Fighter series? You know, I stopped watching it a long time ago because it's all silly, repetitive shit. You know what I'm saying? Everybody in that fucking house has an ego that is from the ground all the way to the highest cloud above. How do you guys explain that? And you telling me that you don't like Jon Jones, Rampage, Rashad Evans, because why? Because they're arrogant? Because they're cocky? Come on, man. It's time to be rational, guys. It's time to be honest with yourself. It's time to be honest with yourself because you know that's some damn bullshit. And I have completely debunked any theory or logic of that shit being true. You feel me? It's completely ridiculous for someone to even say it. But see, this is the reason why these people say it. See, the reason why you have, you know, a lot of white UFC fans who say stuff like, oh, you know, I can't stand Jon Jones. He's just arrogant. He's just this and that. The reason why they're saying that is because they have already been praying for him to lose. They're already rooting for him to lose because you have a lot of white fans, let's be honest. They miss the glory days. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these white fans, they are sitting home daydreaming, thinking about when Chuck Liddell used to run around the ring like a madman after a victory. You know what I'm saying? When Tito Ortiz would do his victory, pulling guns out of his holster, pointing at his enemy, like, yeah, giving him the finger and shit like that. You know, digging a grave for his opponent, doing his victory lap, his victory dance. They miss these days. Now it's been replaced with black fighters, with a lot of black fighters, you know, and even Mexican fighters coming up. You know, it's been replaced with this. You feel me? It's not arrogance. See, what it is, and all of us have been in this situation before. This is what makes the typical UFC fan, the typical white fan, mad and upset that a black fighter is winning. Let me go ahead and go into this clip of mine. Now, in this next little clip that I'm going to show you guys, I want you guys to pay very close attention to this little child that you're going to see. Now, the little child, as Anderson Silva is coming in, this little child is giving the thumbs down, booing Anderson Silva, right? And keep in mind, guys, that this is after Chael Sonnen done said borderline racist shit about Anderson Silva, talked about his country, his nationality, talked about his wife, and all of this shit. This is after the fact. You're going to see this little girl with thumbs down. And it's funny because when I first watched it, that's all I noticed was the kid. But then I noticed later, even more surprisingly, I guess it's the mom. The mom is standing there. I think the mom is standing there and she's, doing thumbs down too. And what's funny is Anderson Silva, being the humble, nice guy that he is, he tries to go over and try to, give little dap to the kid. You know what I'm saying? To kind of bring the tension down, right? And you won't believe what this mom does. As Anderson tries to, give dap to the little kid, this woman, she stops what she's doing just to grab her kid and pull him away from Anderson Silva. Check it out.
And his opponent, the reigning, defending, undisputed middleweight champion of the world, Anderson the Spider Silva.
Now look at the girl in the red dress and the little child in the green dress. You see how she's grabbing her son right now, and as Anderson tries to give him dap to show how humble of a person he is, damn ridiculous. See, shit like that goes beyond just disliking someone. That is what you call hate. That is pure hatred. You notice how you'll hear people say stuff like, "Yo, I hate the Lakers. I don't like the Lakers. My team is this team," and so on and so forth, right? But if their son was to meet Kobe Bryant, do you think they would snatch their kid away from Kobe Bryant? Like, "Don't touch my son. How dare you try to touch my son?" They wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't go that far when it comes to saying, "I don't like the team." It's more of just a team rivalry. You feel me? This is considered hatred right here. Now, what makes this scene that I just showed you even worse, the situation, is the fact that these fans, they already know all of the heinous personal comments that Chael Sonnen made about Anderson Silva, his nationality, his country, etc., etc. They know the things that he said, and they still treated him like this. You would think after Chael says some stuff like that, you would think that the crowd would be treating Chael this way, wouldn't you? Let's just imagine. Imagine if the great Chuck Liddell had some opponent talking about his country, nationality, talking about his wife, etc., saying all of these things. Could you imagine the type of hero that Chuck Liddell would be considered on top of him already being a hero? That would amplify that to a whole nother level. You feel me? See, there are going to be some people that are going to watch this video. You're going to have some white people that's going to watch this video. And this is why it's so difficult to talk about race issues. Because see, when some people hear you talk about what one race is doing to another race, right? There'll be some person who will listen to this video. And if he is the same race as the people I'm talking about, unfortunately, instead of him being honest and saying, "You know what, there is a problem in UFC. Yeah, it is kind of obvious. It shouldn't be this way." Instead of him saying that, he feels he has a guilty by association feeling. And he automatically feels that he's been attacked. He feels that if I'm talking about this one category of racist white people, I must be talking about him too because he shares that race. And this is not what I am talking about. You are not the target if you are not one of these people. Okay? I really want people to understand that. So let me go ahead and also get into the comments that I know that I'm going to receive from my detractors, right? I know that the people who don't want to admit this, because if they admit that it's a race issue, then they won't get credit for hating Jon Jones, Rampage, and the list goes on and on and on, right? They won't get credit for that, right? If you can't beat him, and a lot of people really feel this way, which is so fucking ignorant. A lot of people feel, you know what, we can't beat this motherfucker, but you know what? If we hate his ass enough, then maybe we could take away some of the credit for the wins that he gets in the ring or the octagon. You have people who really are dumb enough to think that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know me, you know, like I said, boxing is my first love. You know, UFC is the second sport that I will watch, but I'm mainly a boxing person. You know, I feel it's nothing better than two guys standing up, you know what I'm saying, duking it out. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, it's funny because I got a message from this guy the other day, and he sent me a message about Floyd Mayweather. And he said to me, you know what, Floyd Mayweather is a great fighter, and you know, it could be argued that he's just as good as any of the welterweights, you know, of all time. But you know what? It's just unfortunate that he won't get all of the credit because, you know, of his attitude. I said, man, you are fucking sadly mistaken, bro. First of all, what you do inside of that ring, it has absolutely nothing to do with your attitude, with your personality. Guys, you have to understand, this is not Miss America. You know what I'm saying? Miss America bases everything on personality, looks. You know what I'm saying? You answering, you know, how you would save the world and all of that shit. This ain't Miss America. This is a fucking blood sport, man. You know what I'm saying? This is a blood sport. So I said to him, are you telling me that you would rather root for a fucking loser with a fantastic personality than a fucking winner with a personality that's so-so? You know what I'm saying? And then I said, another reason why you're completely wrong is because the fans and the sport writers, they are the ones that voted Floyd Mayweather as fighter of the year. Okay? So what you just said right there was completely false. People don't understand that Muhammad Ali was hated more than Floyd Mayweather. Muhammad Ali was hated more than all of these black fighters I'm naming in the UFC. He was hated more than they were. You feel me? You have to understand, this is a time, this is 1960. When people come on YouTube talking about playing a race card, this is a time where the race card was being used literally. You feel me? When I say race card being literally used, I mean there was a window, a card in the window that said whites only. Okay? And when they said whites only, they weren't talking about whites and Jews, whites and Mexicans. They meant whites only. Okay? That's the definition of playing the race card. You know, you get all these people who drop all of these racist ass comments towards black people, but then these are the same people who want to turn around and say, man, you know, black people always play the race card and blah, blah this and blah, blah that. When yet you guys are the only people bringing up race. We try to have a conversation about UFC. Let's have a fucking adult, you know what I'm saying, mature conversation about the UFC issues, boxing issues, you know, political issues, whatever it is. Soon as your dumbass can't make sense and someone outthinks you and they make sense, all of a sudden you start playing the race card. Now you want to drop racial slurs. So we know who plays the race card. See, this is the reason why, you know, this video, I knew was going to be a long ass video because it's all about what I'm going to talk about right now and what I'm not going to talk about. This is a long ass conversation, guys. Long ass conversation. You feel me? Now, since this video is going to be at least an hour long, I'm going to go ahead and split this video in two. So I'll upload the second video after I upload the first one. So let me go ahead and end this one and let me work on uploading the second. I'm on to the next one.